In 78 AD, a man of immense responsibility set foot on the distant shores of Roman Britain. This was Gnaeus Julius Agricola, the newly appointed governor of the empire's youngest and, arguably, most rebellious province. Nearly 4 decades after Emperor Claudius issued the fateful order to invade this mysterious island in 43 AD, its complete subjugation remained an elusive dream. The conquest, contrary to all expectations, had proven far more bloody and protracted than anticipated, and now hopes for its final pacification rested squarely on Agricola. This distinguished figure enjoyed not only military renown but also deep respect within Rome's most enlightened literary circles. His strategic acumen and unwavering loyalty were evident during the turbulent events of 69 AD, known to history as the Year of the Four Emperors, when he decisively supported Vespasian, the legitimate claimant to the imperial throne. Having earned the boundless trust of his powerful patron, Agricola received this high office with one singular, grand objective: to break the island's resistance once and for all and bring it under complete Roman control. The fate of Britain hung in the balance, and all eyes were on the new governor. Barely settled in his new post, Agricola faced his first serious test, one that could undermine Rome's authority. Soon, troubling news arrived from the harsh lands of North Wales. The warlike Ordovices tribe, unwilling to accept foreign rule, had launched a daring revolt and, to the Romans' horror, completely annihilated a cavalry unit stationed in the restless region. This was a direct challenge, demanding an immediate and decisive response. Agricola did not disappoint. He acted with lightning speed and ruthless efficiency. His legions advanced rapidly, crushing the Ordovices' resistance and restoring order. To consolidate his success and ensure long-term control over this rebellious territory, he ordered the construction of numerous fortifications, which became strongholds of Roman influence. His campaign did not end there. He also undertook a bold invasion of the island of Mona, modern-day Anglesey, which had long remained a stronghold of Celtic resistance and the spiritual center of the Druids. After years of unsuccessful attempts, the Romans finally managed to bring this sacred island under their undisputed dominion, thereby striking a powerful blow to the morale of the local tribes. This was not merely a military victory, but a symbolic subjugation of the heart of Celtic Britain. Having successfully established himself in the west, in the following year, 79 AD, Agricola continued his relentless advance northward, systematically imposing Roman authority over vast territories of northern England. But the true objective of his campaign lay beyond these limits, in the wild and unexplored lands where, it was believed, the world ended. To finally complete the conquest of the entire island, break the last pockets of resistance, and engrave his name in the annals of great conquerors, in that same year, 79 AD, he decided to push further into harsh and mystical Scotland. In those times, this land, which the Romans called Caledonia, was a fragmented patchwork of small, independent tribes that had never before encountered such colossal military might. What Agricola assembled was a sight capable of inspiring both terror and awe: some 20,000 impeccably trained legionaries, marching in strict unison, their steps echoing through the valleys, and a supply train stretching for miles, symbolizing the unwavering will of Rome. The Caledonians, accustomed to local skirmishes, were literally paralyzed with shock. They found themselves in an unprecedented situation, unsure how to counter this overwhelming, relentless Roman threat that advanced like a living wall. It became quite evident that in open battle against the hardened legions, their chances of victory were negligible. Therefore, seeking to avoid direct confrontation as Agricola penetrated deeper into their homeland, they opted for a strategy of exhausting guerrilla warfare. From ambush, they attacked Roman foraging parties and small patrols, then, like shadows, vanished without a trace into the dense forests and impenetrable bogs. However, Agricola had his own response to this. In opposition to their tactics, he ordered the construction of an entire network of fortified forts throughout the countryside, slowly but surely tightening the noose around the rebellious tribes, preparing for the inevitable, decisive battle that would determine the fate of the entire island. Could the Caledonians unite in the face of such a threat? Or would they face complete subjugation? The answers to these questions lay hidden in the mists of the future, but one thing was clear: the era of Britain's independence was drawing to a close. By 80 AD, Agricola had completed the construction of defensive fortifications stretching between the strategically important rivers Clyde and Forth. After securing his southern logistics routes and suppressing resistance in recently annexed territories, the commander continued his military campaign. His advance proceeded along the eastern coast, and throughout this journey, the Roman fleet consistently provided him with vital support, promptly delivering necessary supplies and reinforcements. Meanwhile, one of the prominent chieftains of the numerous Scottish tribes, known as Calvicus, began actively gathering forces, intending to finally challenge Agricola's unstoppable advance. The situation for Calvicus and his tribesmen became critical. Roman troops had seized numerous storehouses containing freshly harvested crops. Calvicus and the other chieftains faced an agonizing choice: either engage in a deadly battle or condemn their people to starvation during the harsh winter ahead. At this moment, they finally realized that Rome represented a common and all-encompassing threat to all tribes without exception, and therefore required immediate and unified action. It became clear that the only solution was the complete destruction of Roman power in their lands. Thus, by the end of 83 AD, Calvicus offered Agricola a decisive pitched battle at Mons Graupius, a location that was extremely advantageous for the Caledonians. Having gathered all his forces, Calvicus moved to meet the mighty enemy. A palpable tension hung in the air as the Roman legions arrayed themselves for battle before the Caledonian army. And although the Romans were outnumbered by their adversaries, they were filled with absolute confidence. They firmly knew that this impending battle would forever secure Rome's dominion over the entirety of Britain. On the battlefield of Mons Graupius, two armies with a noticeable disparity in numbers confronted each other. The Caledonian forces comprised an impressive 30,000 warriors, while the Romans fielded approximately 20,000 soldiers. The Caledonians occupied a strategic position on the mountain slope, arraying their infantry in the center, with cavalry covering the flanks, and deadly chariots positioned in the vanguard. In response to this formation, the Roman commander Agricola mirrored the enemy's deployment. He placed his auxiliary infantry in the center, protected the flanks with cavalry, and prudently kept the legionary infantry and 4 cavalry regiments in reserve, preparing for the unfolding events. As they approached the enemy lines, Agricola ordered his auxiliary infantry to extend their formation. This tactical move was designed not only to more effectively counter the charge of the Caledonian chariots but also to match the length of the enemy line, thereby preventing the possibility of encirclement. When fierce cavalry skirmishes erupted on the flanks, Agricola immediately ordered his auxiliary infantry to advance. The Caledonian cavalry soon realized their helplessness against the Roman horsemen and, unable to withstand the pressure, turned and fled. The chariots, driven back, caused chaos within the ranks of their own Caledonian infantry, exacerbating their plight. At a critical moment of the battle, despite the enemy's numerical superiority, the smaller Roman army began to face the threat of encirclement by the Caledonian infantry. However, Agricola, demonstrating remarkable foresight, anticipated this maneuver and had kept a cavalry detachment in reserve precisely for such a development. The Roman cavalry, swiftly attacking the exposed rear of the Caledonian infantry, finally broke their resistance. The Caledonians were completely routed and, fleeing from pursuit, scattered chaotically from the battlefield, seeking refuge in the dense nearby forests. The historian Tacitus attests to remarkably low Roman losses, amounting to only about 260 men, while Caledonian losses were truly catastrophic, reaching approximately 10,000 killed. This was a strategically significant triumph for Rome, solidifying its dominance over Scotland. Following this battle, rumors spread that Agricola had managed to subdue all the tribes of Britain, which, however, did not fully reflect the real situation. Even accounting for exaggerated figures of the Caledonian army's losses, a significant portion of their armed forces remained combat-ready. Nevertheless, they were unable to sustain such a large army in the field for long, due to their lack of the same structured organization as the Roman legions. After the battle, most of them likely dispersed to their homes. Since it was already a late stage of the military campaign, Agricola was unable to capitalize on his success. Ultimately, Agricola withdrew his legions to winter quarters further south. However, before Agricola could fully neutralize potential threats in the newly acquired lands, he was forced to return to the imperial capital by personal order of Emperor Domitian. The true motives behind this decision remain a subject of historical debate. The ancient Roman historian Tacitus, however, suggests that Domitian was envious of Agricola's brilliant military achievements, which the emperor himself so ardently desired. Nevertheless, the process of Roman consolidation in the northern areas resumed in 84 AD, without Agricola's participation. Following the triumph at Mons Graupius, the Romans anticipated that the tribes would resort to guerrilla tactics, launching sudden raids from inaccessible highland areas. The Romans constructed a fortified frontier to encircle a significant territory and effectively contain potential threats. However, due to an escalating threat along the strategically important Danube frontier, the Roman Empire was compelled to redeploy military contingents from Britain to stabilize the situation in that volatile region. Over the subsequent years, Roman troops gradually withdrew from Scotland, establishing a new borderline significantly further south. Thus, this marked the first, but by no means the last, Roman invasion of Scotland.